Hello, my name is Doug McGraw, and this is my presentation on perceptions and culture. Just a side note, I am on duty at the firehouse tonight, so you may hear some radio traffic in the background. I've done everything I can to turn the radios down as low as I can, but there might be some background noise that you inadvertently hear. So, what I'd like to cover in this presentation, first give a definition, or what I feel based from what I learned in the book on web-based social cognition. How does culture relate to perceptions of ourselves and others? Do perceptions vary across cultures? And cultural differences between America and China. So first, web-based social cognition. Found this to be a very interesting concept where people will tend to use the same social cognition strategies on the web that are used in person to form a first impression. In other words, what they're finding is it doesn't matter if someone's on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever it may be, even though they're not in person, they'll use these same strategies. And a quote from the book, though there are many qualitative differences between real-life social interactions and online interactions, it appears that both real-world and online perceivers use some of the same strategies when making first impressions. To answer the first question that we had on perception of ourselves and others, how does culture relate to our perceptions of ourselves and others? Our perception of ourselves and others is affected by the cultural glasses that we wear. I got that from the TED Talk that we watched on diversity and cultures and how we bring our perception to the table, and it's based on how we were raised in cultures that we grew up in, and we wear these glasses. And three ways that culture can drive that and drive our behaviors: we can confront, where we believe that our behaviors are right, or we complain, where we isolate and we create social bubbles, or we can conform. And that is where we observe, we learn, and we come to an understanding and become a part of and adapt our behaviors to a new culture that we're living in. Do perceptions vary across cultures? Yes. One example given to us in the video, the TED Talk, which I thought was painted a very good picture, is that emotional feedback is different from culture to culture. And we see this emotional feedback through our cultural lenses. One of the things example he gave was politeness. That in one culture, for example, if I'm showing you something that I'm excited about, for them to be polite could be to not respond or to not show any expression. Well, I'm looking for a visual response in your facial reaction that you approve. You may be approving, but the emotional feedback you're giving me is saying that you don't, based on my culture. Looking at the cultural differences between America and China, three that I picked out in the research that I did is individual versus the group. Whereas in America, we tend to be a very individualistic society. Whereas if we accomplish something, we want to take the credit for it. And on the contrary, or comparison, in China, it's all about the group. If one person succeeds, the family succeeds. If one person succeeds, the town succeeds. If one person succeeds, the corporation succeeds. So it's very much a group-first society, where in America we can tend to be an individual-first society. The next was hierarchy, where in America we have more of a flat plane of hierarchy, where a good example of this in corporations, there's the open door policy. I can go at any time to my boss's boss, I can knock on the door and I can ask a question. And China is very much not that. It's very bottom up or top down, if you will, and the chain of command is followed. You don't go around anyone. And from what I found, it doesn't seem like there's the same open door policy. Also with freedom of speech. Where in America we have freedom to information, freedom of speech, freedom to stand up for what we believe in. And what I was finding in this research, and I think this is a known fact, that things are very much censored in China, where Facebook, Instagram, and even just take things on the internet are very highly censored, and they don't even have access to it. Has my perception changed about these differences? Yeah, it changed, but it changed because I learned some things that I guess I thought I knew, but I didn't really know before I looked into this. And I can answer that question in this slide with two of the differences that surprised me. One of them was that Chinese society is all about the group. I did not know this, and I did not realize it before this, that it's very much group first, family first, and then the individual second. The next one that surprised me, and I didn't know, or I thought I knew, but now I know more about, is that the Chinese people and in their culture, they will avoid conflict at all costs to save face. Whereas in America, and what I've learned in some of my classes, is what we're trying to teach people is that conflict can actually be good. That disagreeing with someone can actually be good, and you can move past the point and build. And what I found in the paper on the website that I found by Bryant is that in the Chinese culture that's not acceptable to, especially to publicly disagree with someone or to get into conflict. So I found that very interesting. So that is my presentation on culture and perception and how culture affects perception. Thank you for your time and have a good day.